Hi, Tai. One Hiromi, I mean. I'm Hiromi, they, them. I'm the one
Line
Hiromi,
developer
I
for
mean.
Scion.
I'm writer, developer, just I do too much, which is why this is happening and why this one's going to get cut up in the next month or so. With me today are fantastic folks who don't get recognized enough. So here, here's an opportunity to recognize them. Um, let's go with Coyote first.
Hi, I'm Coyote. I am a writer, or I write with Onyx Path. I've done a lot of Scion content in the past. So hi. You're muted.
I am muted. That is super unhelpful of me. So thank you for being able to make it and for all of the cool stuff that you've done.
Yeah, you're
And
welcome.
well, and let's have Geoffrey introduce himself.
Hello, I'm Geoffrey, uh, he, him, hopefully not muted. Um, Talking to you from the Mississaugas of the Credit River land. And yep, I've been a writer for Scion since the beginning. Is the main Onyx Path line that I write for. So I am always excited to have the chance to chat and wave my arms around excitedly.
Wildly gesticulating is very, very much the brand of Scion writers. Um, Spider will unfortunately not be joining us today. He's not having a great day. I mean, not that I'm having a great day either, but like that. uh, this doesn't interfere with my ability to talk at people. So, um, so um, we had a bit of an agenda. By agenda, I mean things that we wanted to talk about, not secret plot. We also have a secret plot, but I wasn't talking about that yet. So something to kind of go through is books that are upcoming and fun stuff along those lines. And before people ask, or perhaps after people ask, I joined the chat late. The um, Story Path Ultra version of Scion that there is a um, demo panel for on Sunday is not the official one. Uh, we have not announced that we are doing a Story Path Ultra version of Scion. We haven't announced it. I'm not saying that we're doing it, but it's it's the new story path mechanical hotness, and Scion is the biggest story path line. So I mean, I don't have to announce it for you to know that there's probably something going on. When we have something a little bit more substantial to tease, then we'll go ahead and make that official. God damn it, I just said no announcement. Yes, unofficial announcement. Uh Kind of unofficial non-announcement. Um yes. So sort of at the top of the list that we have is Scion God, which is firmly in post editing development and artistic development. The art is it's going to be real fun. And I believe, Geoffrey, you had something that you wanted to hop in when it came to God. So I will let you do the thing, because otherwise it's just going to be 60 minutes of me, and that's not fair.
I don't know how many people out there were at last year's Scion panel, where I think we were just, yes, we're at the level of just starting to work on God. And I remember because one or two pantheons were teased there, but now they're all written. I'm assuming if people have backed the manuscript, I can at least give a general outline here without trotting all over anything.
Yeah, I mean, there's a substantial amount of the book out, and I have to assume that like the 47 folks in the chat have mostly backed it. I could be wrong, but I'm just going to trust that Scion fans are rad.
Well, so let me just do a very quick catch up of things. I think for me, at least as a writer, even though it wasn't one of the sections that I worked on, the real heart of God level material is how radically gameplay changes for the most part. You're not. We had this discussion on one of the channels, one of the writers' channels, just a little while back. It's like, wait, do we actually need character sheets in the traditional way for gods? Because there are so many problems that they're going to be solving just by throwing legend at it or narrating to each other. I mean, sheets for incarnations makes sense. You know, keeping track of your various cults and religions and so on makes sense. Does it really matter how well you can drive a car? You know, you're Thor. Well, okay, bad example. But, you know, for most of the time, you're not going to need those. So that, I think that and the level of different styles of play or the different options for play is definitely important for me, or exciting for me, at least as a writer and as, eventually a player. Other things we have, new pantheons, of course, details of overworlds to line up with the details of underworlds from Demigod, bigger, scarier antagonists. What else is there that's significant? Oh, right, building your own pantheon. If you decide that you want to break off, if you decide that you're going to set up one of your mantles to try to join an existing pantheon, maybe as one of their lesser figures, just so you can keep tabs on them, you can do that. Honestly, if you want to spend most of your time just hanging out as a mortal, sure, do that. Make most of your time basically playing an origin or hero level game, and then occasionally switch back to your full divine selves and say, all right, we need to solve this problem a little more directly because the Atlantic has gotten in the way of some of my plans. So these are things in Scion God, at least, that I'm personally excited about, and I hope. I know the God Companion is still in process. We have Divine Inspiration as well, which Coyote, I think, is working on. Can we hear anything about either of those?
I don't know, Hiromi. Can we hear anything about either of those?
Yeah, I can dig into God Companion a bit, but you haven't gotten a chance to talk yet, so by all means, let's dig into Divine Inspiration a bit.
Okay, so Divine Inspiration covers a lot of ground in terms of giving story guides some really cool plots to choose from, and also some new antagonists, um, things like that. So instead of, if you're somebody who kind of struggles or just kind of wants to engage with content that will kind of help you come up with your own stuff and put your own twist on things, Divine Inspiration is going to be great for that.
Yeah, one of the fun things with Divine Inspiration is that it's not like here's a scenario, go do exactly this.
Right.
It's more of like a story guide toolkit where
Yeah, very much so.
yeah, like it works at like kind of all levels. Like if the SG just kind of wants like a few sentences to get the brain going and go, all right, let's go with this kind of idea, then there's gobs of content for you. If you want kind of like a story arc sketched out, then that works as well. And because there's so many ways to play Scion right now, it's broken down across basically every way to play that we have. Like some of the more popular areas get more attention because like playing as a divine hero is a bit more popular than playing as say a saint, but like no one's getting left out in the cold here.
Right. It's a super comprehensive book. And what I like about it too is that you don't necessarily have to plan to include all of these things all at one time. A lot of it is designed so that, if you want to take your players on a certain adventure, you can do that in a way that isn't concurrent. It can be spread out over, you can have content in between. You can have games in between that doesn't deal with that. So
Yeah. Like it's just very, very flexible. Let's gives the SGs a big push, a big helping hand, but leaves them in charge of, well, them and their players, because an SG can want to do a certain thing with every fiber of their being, and if the players decide, nah, we're gonna zig, not zag, then that's what
that
happens.
never happens. That's not a thing.
Hopping over to God Companion, fun things there is that it so like Geoffrey was saying, that like God implicates a lot of different ways to play Scion, ways that we haven't seen before. And God Companion just sort of digs into that in a lot more detail and with a lot more flexibility. Like previously, in demigod realms, like there's the idea that like, hey, you can have your own pocket dimension, you can have your own small realm, and there's kind of like only so big it can get. But once you're a god, there isn't actually a limit on how big it can get. Well, not a mechanical one. If you set out to make basically the entire universe, uh, you might have problems maintaining it. Like controlling any area, like any size area is difficult on its own. And once you add other factions who might not like you, then, there are issues there. So depends on the god. Like there's a question in the chat: can a god make a boulder so big they cannot lift it? And I'm like, well, yes, definitely, because it absolutely depends on the god. If you have a forge god, they can make anything. If you have one with epic strength, they can presumably lift anything. I mean, there's mechanical caps and whatnot, but with God Companion, not only do you get to build new realms, merge them, split them off, you can steal them. you can try and blow them up. That's less of a divine thing, less of a god thing, more of a Titan thing. And spoilers. That's a thing in Titans Rising. So think of Titanomachy as the first sort of outing where you learn a little bit more about Titans. You learn a little bit more about what they think about the sort of division between gods and Titans, whether or not that division is justified, whether or not their struggles against gods are moral. And Titans Rising kind of makes you choose sides a little bit. You can decide that, hey, this struggle is not okay, and we're going to go this way. And then maybe you blow up Valhalla. Like, I'm not saying that that's for sure a thing that's in it. I am saying that that's a thing that you could do in your game. How much the Aesir are going to let you do it is a totally different question. And how many consequences you're going to face for doing it is a very different question. And sort of like everything that, like if you look through, especially the Divine Rule chapter in, sorry, not Divine Rule chapter, the Beyond Apotheosis, the sort of mechanical one that talks about the Divine War with the Banner armies, with Divine Rule ruling a realm, as well as trying to get control of a purview, and beating up a god and taking their mantle. That incarnations, cults, God Companion gets into all of those. Like whatever you saw in there that you're like, I wonder if you can, yes. And it's in God Companion. Probably. It'll be a long thing to sort of get into, but we'll sort of reveal more as the book gets further along. Trying to remember. Geoffrey, are you also on Titans Rising? Oh, right. No, you had a schedule conflict.
No, they never let me near Titans for some reason.
So I can announce this. Titans Rising is the next Scion Kickstarter. It's not starting up this month, but it will start soon afterwards. It is sort of number 2 in the shoot. With Titans Rising, the sort of Titanic equivalents of the pantheons that we've had in the past, those sort of get expanded out just like they did in the first Tatanamaki. Some of those Titans already got covered well in Demigod Companion, which when you get your hands on that, that's a thing that's in it. So if you wanted more Tiamat, you're going to get more Tiamat. If you thought we had enough Tiamat, you were right, but we're getting you more. We have a lot of Tiamat, turns out. I want to say we have 5 different versions of Tiamat now, as a goddess, as a titan, as a primordial, as Titanic demigod.
5 is a pretty fitting number.
A bit, yeah. Kind of going back up to questions before they scroll out of my view. So David Castro mentioned that people can kind of self-actualize into being Scion, so without intervention by gods. That's not something that we have like super gotten into. There are paths for that that kind of pre-exist via Saints and Monsters. So like, and also within Origin and Hero. So it's not exactly true, but it's not true. All myths are true. We'll go with that. There was also a question about seeing the Pantheon shields for the Balahala, the Ilum, the Palas, and the Zemi. And I think 3 of those have been released and were released like over the course of the campaign. I want to say that there are 2 that have not. I'll figure out which ones those are and throw the ones that we do have in the official Discord. There was also a question about mechanically what the mechanical difference between Titans and gods. Mechanically, if you have a Titan calling, you are a Titan. That is not like a hard and fast rule. Like mechanically, if you have a Titan calling, you're a Titan. However, that's not necessarily how that god or character, entity, whomever identifies, and it's not necessarily how others identify them. Within the game, Titanhood has always been more of a political construct than it is an actual "you must do this, you must be like this" label. So the mechanical definition only matters for certain things. One of those is blowing up realms. So if you are a Titan, like a destroyer or a monster, and you want to go blow up a realm, you're better at it than other people. You just are, because that is your thing. Uh, I swear I'm not saying that you should go blow up Valhalla. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that you can. um oh, hey, next on our agenda, that is not a secret, it's just a plan. um we have a thing for Coyote to plug, because it's rad and it's the correct month for it.
So at the end of the month, on Drive Through RPG, there will be some Story Path Nexus content for Pride Month. We're gonna do Scion Pride 2023. So it's a supplement that covers different gods, birthrights, relics, all kinds of stuff that is mainly geared toward queer players, or players who would like to play queer characters, or storytellers who would like to, have the opportunity to have some pretty cool queer antagonists and stuff like that. So that'll be again on Drive Through RPG at the end of the month. It is for charity. So the proceeds get donated to an LGBTQIA plus charity.
Awesome. Thanks for working on that, and thanks for letting folks know about it.
Yeah, absolutely. TJ Wilson is also a part of it. I wanted to mention, because he's put in like a tremendous amount of work, and like I'm super, super glad to be working with him on this.
Awesome. Yeah. TJ's great.
Yeah.
As sort of like a real fast overview of books sort of in progress that have been announced. We have Scion God, which you talked about a little bit earlier, Scion, or God Companion, which also we talked a little bit about. The jumpstart. The jumpstart for God is super fun. Basically, you start off as a newly formed pantheon. You have a realm. Your realm has problems because you're a new homeowner, and what home doesn't have leaks that may or may not have dragons busting through and fighting right in front of you? I mean, that's just normal home maintenance problems, right? Uh, it's going to get a little bit, I was about to say political, but Scion's always political. In this case, I mean politicking, because you're going to have to be very careful to not upset at least one pantheon or at least one god. And honestly, if you're at god tier and you're not currently in jeopardy of upsetting another pantheon, you're wrong. Someone is going to be upset with you. You're just not aware of it. It is very difficult for gods to do anything without interfering with each other, and some people take that personally. Titans Rising, talked a little bit about that. We'll talk about it more when the campaign gets going, because I have, or rather we have, 4 ideas for stretch goals. Well, 4 to 9, depending on how you count. That makes no sense to anyone but me right now. It's okay. It'll make sense later. Much like most of the things that I tease y'all with, I give you confusing things, and eventually they make sense. Much like the Pantheon teasers for God that I seeded like a year or two before we announced anything. There's the Tasty Bit compilation, which is, like it says, it is a compilation of Scion Tasty Bits that you've seen before. So if you haven't gotten a chance to pick up Making History Modern, wow, I'm blanking on everything
Jesus, we
except
have to
mine.
talk.
I'm like, don't. I'm just like internally, don't say Zeus. We just want to talk, and only that. I have to name other things. Uh, NEX, Boon Companion, Scion High, Making History Modern. So Now You're a Hero. The formerly named Autocracy, now named Car Competition. I was sad that that got renamed because Autocracy.
It's so clever and it's so infuriating at the same time. Like it's perfect. It's everything you could want.
Yeah. We have other things that I don't have right in front of me. Um, Dragon Library is a tasty bit that is being written right now. Probably not exactly now. Uh, Other people have smarter work-life balances than I do. Uh, Demigod Village is another tasty bit that is currently in editing and should be along in the near future. No God Dragon Companion. The text for that's done, has been done for a bit. It gets you 2 more flights, 3 more flights. It is gonna be a blast. Uh, No Gods, No Monsters has been in kind of limbo for a while, but it is exiting limbo. It has paid off Charon, just slipping the bribe into Charon's pocket. Um, for folks who maybe have forgotten about it, No Gods, No Monsters is about the keepers of the world and their plot to uh, cut the divine connection to the world and just have Earth floating off by itself, no gods, uh, except maybe them, depending on which of them we're talking about, because some of them are uh, not hardcore in their belief that gods shouldn't exist. They just want those gods to not exist. Uh, it is a big sprawling campaign that you can play at a bunch of levels, a bunch of tiers, and have loads of fun with it. Yes, sorry, no gods, no masters. I don't know why I said monsters. Other than it also sounds cool. Wild Hunt, also been in limbo for a while. Also coming soon. Once in the Future is fucking delightful. And I'll throw it to Geoffrey for that because Geoffrey has cooler things than I do. Geoffrey can say cooler things about it than I can. So,
Well, never turned down the chance to talk about it. I have the feeling that everybody here knows about it by now. So this is our guidebook for playing Arthurian stories of different varieties. You can do your standard, you can do historical Arthurian ones. I think we have material in there for that. Modern day versions, of course. You can play as, if I'm remembering this right, because A, it's been a while, and B, not my section, play as characters who are following Arthurian characters, not exactly as fully formed mantles, but sort of archetypes, who will still likely play out very similar stories to the originals. Even if the Arthurian material itself isn't of interest to you, and if that's the case, my cat does not like you, then we also have, we've got the Plant d'On, the Welsh pantheon being added for Scion in general. We have rules to give you a slightly alternative apotheosis path for people who don't want to become gods, but just want to essentially live out a series of, say, not incarnations, no, that's not quite right, who want to hold themselves at a certain point, knowing that they're going to play variation after variation of their core story, sometimes with different endings. Sometimes Arthur, Lancelot, and Guinevere is a love triangle. Sometimes it's Arthur with his 3 wives, all named Guinevere. They don't get much mention. They're older Welsh ones. One's a giant. So, sometimes you get very, very different things like that. We have some rules in there, I think, for what if you want to take over the world? We have larger scale political things because you're essentially playing something that can easily turn into a nation building game. And along with some comments on why doing nation building games could be a bad idea, just ethically. And let's see. Yes, the polyamorous option is always on the table for Arthur, Lancelot, and Guinevere. This is Scion. Polyamory is always on the table among the writers. So there was something else that someone was asking, about the Grail in a conversation before this. And I do know that we have an entire room full of Grails for people to pick from. We raised Laurence Olivier from the dead just to be there for it. And all that I know from what I've seen of the section is, as usual, choose wisely. I think that mostly covers what I can say about Once and Future.
Yeah. Someone was asking about Merlin, and was trying to see what sort of version of Merlin we had, or what sort of versions of Merlin we have, because I have book bleed. I know of another book that is going to have a Merlin, and I'm trying to remember how we have him in Once and Future. Currently sort of digging through the manuscript for it. But yeah, if you would like to play with Merlin, there will be options. If you would like to be a Grail quester, that is very much a thing that you can do. If you want to get into a fight with a questing beast, there are several. Mine is kind of weird, which I mean, that's on brand for me. uh, if you've ever been like, hey, I would like to fight a questing beast at a silent rave, got you. uh I talked a little bit about Demigod Companion. It is in layout. The text has been done. It is again, it's sort of expanding on Titanic offerings for the demigod pantheons. It is one of the reasons why we have like 5 versions of Tiamat. Uh, Dragon Jumpstart is in a similar boat, not with extra Tiamats, but in a you'll see it soon state. The community content guide also in a you'll see it soon version. That's less exciting unless you're making stuff for the Storypath Nexus, in which case it's fantastically exciting. Folks were also curious as to the future of Scion, and the future of Scion is, as always, a thing where I know way more than I can talk about, and I have to choose my words carefully because some plans have been approved, some plans have not been approved. But if anyone was concerned that we were going to run out of things to do, I have 13 unannounced books in mostly pending more meetings, but some are definitely going to happen, and it's just a matter of when. So it's I have Scion content kind of planned for the next 5 years, like to be a little bit more forthcoming. I have previously talked about ways that, like, different ways to play Scion, because like it's in the world. There's a whole lot of things you can do. You don't have to be a god that goes out and punches people in the face. Someone did I think chat already scrolled past what I was going to talk about, but if you wanted to get into a rap battle with a questing beast, I can't say that book's coming. I can't say it's coming. What it might be. There is a whole lot more to the world that we have not seen yet, and a whole lot to do with how fate works and how player characters can interact with fate, and what the consequences of messing with fate might be. We haven't gotten into that as a game line, and we are going to. They're these sort of factions that I'm poking at, and sort of like we're sort of raising up, going like, hey, the Titanomachy still exists. Yes, the distinction between titans and gods is mostly political, but it's real, and people are fighting over it, and people have been fighting over it. Like, it's gods are much like people, as it turns out. Just because there's no actual reason for them to fight doesn't mean they're not going to. And how those conflicts play out and what side you could take on that conflict and whether or not you would like to end the world, or perhaps how you would like to end the world. Those are stories that players will get a chance to delve into a bit. Also, since now we're talking, or since now we can talk about things at a god level, there are a lot of purviews. And if you're a god of beauty, if you're a god of death, if you're a god of beasts, what's your day-to-day like? The answer is going to be very different depending on who you are and what you are interested in. And players, of course, you're very smart. You're going to come up with new concepts for how you're going to answer that question yourself. But we're also going to help you. We had earlier fan questions from the Discord that wanted to get into, mostly because, well, for a variety of reasons. But Coyote, you're in the document, right? You want to grab that one? You are muted. Still muted. Zoom is a jerk.
I don't know why it did that. I pressed it twice and then I did the shortcut for it and it wouldn't unmute. Okay. That first one, this one is from Lunar Lorcon. Unless it's been answered to death, what is the approach for writers / anyone really when writing these mythical beings when there is no source for something? It has been established that this is a game and not a textbook, but how does the development process proceed when you reach the no source for this to build off of now what stage? So I haven't encountered anything that doesn't have like any source material yet, but I have encountered stuff that does have very, very little source material. And that is really, really tough to work with sometimes. But it's also kind of a fun challenge too, because there's so many other resources, through the internet that you can call upon. And sorry. And yeah, go ahead and you go ahead. I apologize.
No worries. I'll go ahead and throw it to Geoffrey as well, because I know that with the Plankton, that like you can go back historically so far, and then like original sources kind of stop being a thing. And you have a PhD in this, so I'll shut up.
Yeah, no pressure. Fine. Yeah, lack of sources gives us, I think, some degree of freedom. If you want to be pedantic about it, which I often do, there are some sources that you just sort of set aside. If it was, scholarship from before early 1900s, don't trust it. If it tries to explain how this name that's only attested to in one place can easily be understood as having a complete mythology based on the reconstruction of Proto-Indo-European, no. it never works out. If you do that, you might as well just say, well, odds are they probably slay a dragon somewhere.
Just hopping back like one thought. I want to underscore the if it's an early 1900s source, don't trust it, especially if they're talking about a religion or a cultural practice that is non-European. Like there, oh boy, are there a lot of sources out there talking about Polynesia, Melanesia, Micronesia, like the Pacific Islands in general, and because of who I am, I have looked at many of them, and I'm like, how the hell did you come to that conclusion? That is offensively incorrect. Sorry, had to push that button because yeah, just because it's an old source doesn't necessarily mean it's a good source. In fact, those have no correlation.
Certainly, when it comes to the scholarship, they don't at all. But for as Coyote says, usually you can find at least a little bit. And I think for me as a writer, I lean on that. I always like to have some sort of precedent for what I write. But if all I've got is one sentence, I will take that and run wild with it. And I think it's perfectly fair for anyone else running a game to do the same thing. So yeah.
Yeah. Like I know that we've had to sort of extrapolate a few times from relatively limited sources, the Nemotondevels and the Zemi in particular, because there are no direct sources for either. With the Zemi, we had to like reconstruct through Spanish sources, and that Spanish were colonizers. They weren't super interested in preserving cultural knowledge. They did so a little bit, and that is extremely helpful, but there's a lot of taking things with a grain of salt and trying to be respectful, not necessarily to the source, but to the people that the traditions belong to. And that's Awkward GM is pointing to that happening with the Aesir, because there's a certain amount of information about Nordic culture that we, like at a certain point, we don't have information from sources directly. We have to kind of infer. And it's always kind of a challenge. Question right above that from Hot Dog Wizard. Sorry, just briefly picturing a wizard using a hot dog as a wand, and it makes me laugh. It's an amazing image.
See, I went the other way, and the hot dog was wearing like wizard robes.
Yeah. But yes, we've been working with Native American authors because my people are indigenous to the Ryukyu Islands. Like we got colonized. Our culture was illegal for a while. We're still not recognized as being indigenous to the islands or an indigenous culture within Japan. And I have a lot of fucking feelings about that, as well as wanting to preserve and defend other indigenous traditions. So like, I want to say we have 6 or 7 North American indigenous traditions represented right now. We definitely want more. I've been working with Tsudikawa Apache, and that's probably not going to happen because the idea of having their gods as the thing that you can beat up doesn't really fly. The Huichol and the Kora are firmly interconnected with Mayan and also syncretic Christian traditions, which we were going to have for God, but things got complicated. It turns out global pandemic fucks up a lot of stuff. The short answer there is yes, we are absolutely going to have more indigenous cultures represented because that it needs to fucking happen. And we are actually out of time, but it's one secret thing. And Corbin, our fantastic tech person who should get some applause. I can't fucking clap. Wait, yes, I can. Has been kind of itching to push a button, and go ahead and push the button because we have a secret fucking thing. So you get to see it. Hope you didn't forget that we had a TV show coming, because we do. uh, and with that, we'll wrap up quickly. Coyote, who are you? What do you do? Where can people find your stuff?
You can find me on Patreon at patreon.com/writer coyote. I do a lot of weird fiction, and some different lengths of fiction, like short fiction, microfiction. And you can also find me on Twitter at writer coyote as well.
Awesome. Thank you. Geoffrey, who are you? What do you do? And where can people find you and tell you how awesome you are?
Hello, I remain Geoffrey. You can find me on Twitter until it implodes at am_Geoffrey. And also, I have a coffee.com project for Scion that I'm working on bit by bit. Coffee.com/Geoffrey M, I think. I'm not a very creative person in that sense. Right now, it's got some free stuff, some supporter-driven material, probably going to raise the supporter prices soon, so get in while you can.
Awesome. Thank you. And we gave Corbin a little love before the trailer, but give Corbin some love now because, like, people doing tech don't get the recognition that they do. It's difficult. So thank you for running this. And I'm Hiromi Cota. I write and develop a bunch of games, especially Scion, but a lot of other things. This will come off in like a week or so, and once that's fully healed, then this is getting cut also. So I'm gonna be healing for a while, but that's not gonna slow Scion down too much because Team Scion is very large and very talented and very awesome. And where we have at least 5 more years of stuff planned coming to you. So if you like Scion, even a fraction as much as I do, you're gonna have a lot of fun. Oh my god, my dog's having fun. I hope the rest of you are as well. Have a great Friday and the rest of OPPCon.